Hello everyone, welcome to our lesson video 5. We are going to talk about, my name is Stephen Asante. Today we are going to learn about statements, and we will explore expression and understand what they are. We also look into the different types of expression, and we see how all these concepts work together in Rule coding. So what are expressions? An expression is simply a combination of three things: variable, operands, and operators. Let me break this down for you. An expression is like a math problem. Remember from school when you had math problems like 2 plus 3? That's essentially what an expression is in programming. So variable stores values or results. It's like containers that hold the information, and operands are the actual data that operator works with. In 3 plus 2, both 2 and 3 are operands, and operators are the symbols that perform the operations like plus, minus, additions. We have different types of expressions. Examples are we have expression like A plus B. A plus B is an expression where A and B are operands and plus is the operator. You have another expression like this too. Just C, just one operand. It is called single operand expression. So I have another example or another expression like x equal to A plus B. So x equal to A plus B. So this is more complex expression where we are assigning the results of A plus B to the variable x. Now we have different types of expressions. We have the integral expressions, the floating point expressions, mixed point expressions, conditional expressions, logical expressions, relational expressions, and pointer expressions. For the integral and floating point expressions, let's start with the simplest one, that's the integral and floating point expressions. The integral expression uses only integers number. For example, we say 3 plus 5. It's an expression, or maybe 10 minus 2. Since all the operands are integers, the result will also be an integer result. Now the floating point. The floating point expression uses only decimal numbers. For example, let me say 5.5 plus 2.3. 5.5 plus 2.3 is also a floating point numbers. Since all the operands are floating points, the result will also be floating point numbers. And then with the mixed expressions, it contains both integer and floating point numbers, like something like 2 plus 3.2. Here we have an integer, which is the 2, and the floating point is the 3.2. And so I have other one like 6 over 6 maybe over 4 plus 3.9, 3.8. This mixes integers with floating points, and so on. So that's how it goes: integer, floating point, integer, floating point, gets you to mixed expression. We have also conditional expressions. The expression where the final value depends on whether the condition is true or false. It's like linking asking a question. This if this condition is true, use the value, otherwise use the value. You will see more examples of this when we talk about conditional operators later in our lecture. We also have the relational expressions. The relational expression compare two values and give a true or false answer. They always produce a Boolean result, that is data type, that can only be true or false. Example is like the x is greater than x plus 1. Okay. X plus 1 is greater than 2. This asks if the sum of x and x plus y. This asks if the sum of x and y are greater than 2. That's the if yes, then the answer is true. If no, then it's false. 0 and 1. The Boolean expression. That the logical expressions. Combine multiple relation expressions using logical operators like and, or, and not. They also produce true and false results like the relational expressions. And the pointers expressions work with memory addresses. It's not anything difficult. You also have what you call ending expressions. We'll talk about that later on in future videos. So let's go into comments. So before we move into statements, let's talk about comments first. Comments are notes you write in your code that the compiler or the computer ignores. They are for human to read and understand what the code does. Comments are incredibly helpful for making your code easier to understand, explaining complex logic, temporarily disabling parts of your code, and helping others to understand your code. You have single comments like this. This is what we call single comments. So the compiler is going to ignore this when the code is being run. We have the other one to call multi-line comment. That one uses the backslash and the asterisk sign, and you repeat that same thing at the line you want to comment. It comments all these lines. So what are statements? A statement is a single instruction that tells the computer to perform an action. It's a complete sentence in your program. Statements are the building blocks of any C++ program. Everything you program everything your program does is made up of statements. And you have different types of statements like selection statements, which is used for making decisions like if, else. Interactive statements used for repeating tasks like loops. Expression statement used to evaluate expression. Declaration statement used to create new variables. Jump statement used to change the normal flow of execution, and a compound statement used to group multiple statements together. So with a selection type statement, it helps your program to make decisions. They are like asking questions. If the condition is true, do this, otherwise do that. The main selection statements are if statement, if else statement, and switch statement. A condition in these statements can be any expressions that evaluate true or false. So the if statement, you have a condition like maybe something like this. int age equal to 30, terminate. Yeah. If age is greater than 18, cout can vote. So this statement is going to print, or is going to check if the code, this code checks if the age is greater than 18. If it is, then it prints students can vote. And the if else statements too. If else statement gives you two choices. If this condition is true, do this, otherwise do that. And this is how it looks like. The age, let me use the same thing, age 20. If age is 12, if age is 18, student is old. If age is 18, and then student is old, and terminate. Else cout student is young. So this code will print student is young. This code is going to print student is old because 18. Let me do this. Do this here, 18. Let me explain it better. This is going to print student is old because 18 is greater than the age limit for what you are talking about. So it's going to print the student is old. We have something called nested if statement. So sometimes you need to check multiple conditions nested. Nested if statement lets you put one statement inside another. Here's an example of how to do that. If n is greater than 0, if n percent 2 equal to 1, cout positive odd number. Terminate it. Else cout positive even number. So this first check if n is positive, then later check if n is even or odd. So the switch statement. Switch statements are usually useful when you need to compare one value against many possible values. They are like a multi-way of if statement. The important rules of switch statements are that the expression must be an integer, character, or boolean. Each case value must be different. Each case value must be constant. That's a typical example of how the switch looks like then. Switch statement. Switch statement. So int age 12. Switch. So switch age. Switch into bracket age. To bracket age. So case. See out. Students can vote. Break. So this is how the switch statement looks like. With the break statement is crucial in switch statements. It tells the program to exit the switch block immediately without break. Without the break statement, the program would continue to execute the next case, which is usually not what we want it to do. So the break tells the code that if you run the code and you are done with what you want, then you break. Don't go to the next line of code. That's what the break does.